All right. Hey, Vikings fans. Welcome in to another episode of the Skol Hop. I'm Evan.
And I'm Austin.
We're just a couple of dudes from Iowa. We like drinking beer and talking about the Vikings.
And actually, we hate talking about the Vikings this year because, Evan, the sky has fallen and the Vikings actually suck this year.
That's a true statement. I've definitely given up on our team this year. I think a lot of fans have, but I have hope for the future.
And I think maybe do you think the team needs some changes for next year? Maybe a new coach, new GM, new quarterback? Who knows?
That remains to be seen. But one thing I know for sure, the quarterback situation needs to be resolved before next season.
Yeah, but something that doesn't need to change is just how great this beer was that we had from Big Grove. The Wade Wisely was pretty good to us tonight.
Yeah, that is absolutely right. So grab a cold one wherever you are. Join us for episode 116 of the Skol Hop.
Skol.
Skol.
All right, we just want to say thank you to episode sponsor That's Badass Wood Art for sponsoring today's episode. Evan is showcasing our own piece of That's Badass Wood Art. It's his very popular skull piece with the state of Minnesota in the O. And we love it, and we can't wait to have more of his pieces, more of their pieces on the set and in our man caves respectively. If you are interested in having a piece of That's Badass Wood Art, go ahead and go to their website, that'sbadasswoodart.com, and search up their whole archive. They've got a ton of sports and pop culture references, and you could even have custom pieces commissioned. And if you do find something you like, you can go ahead and use our promo code for 10% off. That code is SKOLHOP, SKOLHOP, all one word. And that, again, will get you 10% off any and all orders, whether it's a custom piece or a piece that he's already got on the website, anything like that. So go ahead and check him out. Thank you very much. That's Badass Wood Art.
Yeah, thanks. Appreciate it. I saw on one of his social media pages, do you want to put that back over there? Yeah. He did one of, I think it was Culpepper, Robert Smith, Randy Moss, and Chris Carter on Thanksgiving as they're all standing around the turkey after they won, and I'm guessing it was like 2001, 2002, somewhere in there. But yeah, it's like an iconic photo of those four dudes after they beat, I don't know if it was the Cowboys or the Lions, probably one of those two teams on Thanksgiving. But he made a wood art piece out of that. That was cool.
It was probably the last time as Vikings fans we were happy, so that was probably a good piece to reflect on and really spend some time looking at.
Before we really get into the wallowing and the hurt and the pain,
we're in it, Ev.
And the sad music, I think we need to highlight two positive things, two good things for us right now. Number one, we don't have to spin the wheel.
Because we had no faith in this faithless team.
No, actually, both of us had quite a bit of faith at the beginning of the season, preseason, in our picks. I just didn't have faith, and I think you felt the same way, that the Vikings would go to the West Coast and beat Seattle, who has proved that they're a good team.
Yep.
So that was a good pick on our part, that the Vikings would lose this game. Now, I could not have predicted that the Vikings would have the record that they currently have right now in the preseason. We were both more optimistic. But there's more good news.
What's that? Evan, I just checked. You said they would win.
No, you didn't.
You have to spin the wheel.
No.
I'm just kidding. Anyways, what's the other piece of good news there?
I'm double checking now.
No, you said that they would lose. We both did.
Okay. Your wife picked a win.
I know.
Does she have to spin?
We'll talk about that later.
No, the other piece of good news is that you brought some beer tonight.
Yes. It's a beer that I believe we've had on the show before.
We have.
It's probably been around a year or so since we've had this one before.
Let me look.
Maybe even two. Who knows? What is this? Episode 116 now. We've been doing this for a while.
Episode 64. So
wow. So yeah, about
nearly
Do we have the date on there when we had that?
October 29th, 2024.
All right, so a little bit over a year.
A little bit more than a year.
Yeah, and I remember liking it a lot. This one, of course, is from Big Grove Brewery. They've been making a lot of appearances lately, which I'm perfectly okay with. It is their Wade Wisely. It's a coffee oatmeal stout. And it says with Rock the House blend by JBC Coffee Roasters. I almost said Roosters. So yeah, if I remember right, does this one go towards?
I think they help
good cause,
like fisheries and stuff. Proceeds from this beer support organizations working to protect and restore freshwater ecosystems and promote environmental conservation across the Midwest.
Nice. Yeah, so I think this one must be a slightly seasonal beer that they make, because I don't see it at our local Hy-Vee very often. But one of the reasons we're having it tonight is because I was looking and I saw it there and almost thought it was a new beer that we hadn't tried before, but then quickly remembered, we have had this one, and it's really good.
I had a really bad pour.
No, that was pretty good.
But I'm excited.
That was a pretty good pour
to have
there,
this one again. It's a really dark beer. It's an oatmeal stout, so of course it's going to be dark, not see-through at all. Looks kind of like a Pepsi or a Coke.
Almost, yeah. It's got that cola vibe there.
The foam of the head kind of looks like root beer a little bit. It smells amazing. It smells oatmeal-y. There's a little hint of vanilla in it, and it's made with coffee, right? You said in the description.
Yeah, made with a specific blend, Rock the House blend by JBC Coffee Roasters. I don't know anything about JBC Coffee Roasters, but I assume they're an Iowa company. Maybe Big Grove. If you find us, if you're talking about this, let us know more about this beer. I remember having it. I remember it being very good. And honestly, we kind of have a little bit of a history of stout beers. I think we've some of the first beers we tried and enjoyed together were stouts. So without further ado, Skol.
That hits the spot. That's wonderful.
That's so good. We both like coffee. We're both connoisseurs of a good stout every once in a while. It's not necessarily our immediate go-tos for each of us, but we definitely appreciate them. I will say this one has almost no head retention.
No, not at all.
The foam went away within 30 seconds of pouring the beer. I don't know if that's normal or if maybe we just got the tail end of the batch this year. Either way, the flavor and the carbonation, fantastic. I like this one a lot.
Yeah.
I don't know if it just doesn't have really good head retention, which again, flavor's great, and I'm really excited to have a couple more.
It's perfect for the weather we've had too. It's the Monday snow after Thanksgiving. We got dumped on with snow here in the Midwest right after Thanksgiving, so it was actually snowing when you came over tonight, and I was out shoveling the driveway.
Yep. Oh man.
So
yeah, you were salting the walkway just for me.
Yep. Making sure you didn't slip.
Aw, you're so kind, Dev.
Looking out for you.
You're very kind to me. You care about my feelings. Something our favorite football team does not care about. It actually seems like they hate their fans recently. So let's dive into that.
Yeah, let's go ahead. Do we want to do roses and thorns, or do we just want to just riff for a little bit and just vent, get it out, get it off your chest?
Let's get it off our chest by sticking to the roses and thorns. So, okay. Evan, I'll go first.
Yeah,
I'm going to go first with my rose. I've thought about this a lot. I have none. There are no roses for me. There is nothing, absolutely nothing right now, especially from that Seattle game, to be happy about. There's no rose-colored glasses. Everything sucks for me. Then that's it. What about you, Ev? What's your rose?
My rose and my thorn are actually kind of connected, so don't throw shade quite yet. Don't pounce on me in the comments quite yet.
Dude, we can handle it.
But my rose is that we can absolutely confirm without a shadow of a doubt now that the Vikings have a definite quarterback problem. And going into this game, one of my concerns was, and we're of course referencing the Vikings' horrific loss in Seattle, 26-0. Yeah. I don't know that we've really mentioned that out loud.
Yeah,
yet.
I think I've said Seattle a couple times, but okay. Yeah, it was the worst.
It was one of the most historic losses in franchise history, perhaps even in league history. Like, this rivals the 41 donut that the Vikings dropped to the Giants, however many years ago that was. But one of my main concerns going into this game was J.J. McCarthy being soft-benched or actually concussed. We don't know. But Brosmer coming in, if he outplayed J.J. McCarthy, which now in hindsight we know he didn't.
Yeah. I think everybody was kind of excited about the idea of that, though. I know I was.
And yes, but I think we'd be having a very different conversation right now. And my concern would be that it would just have exacerbated this problem that the Vikings have been stuck in pretty much since we started this podcast. What are the Vikings going to do at quarterback? That's been the number one topic. I bet if we go back and look at like our episode titles and our descriptions, like, quarterback is one of the most commonly used words, phrases.
And it's the most important position in sports, so that makes sense. But the Vikings specifically have had a roller coaster throughout our podcast life. If
there's a silver lining, if there's a rose to be had, it's that the quarterback problem is real. Is it a good problem? No. It's not a good problem to have. It sucks. It was horrific watching Max Brosmer play the way he played and throw 4 interceptions, especially the first one that he threw, which was just egregious and had even Paul Allen like ready to just probably throw his microphone out the window of the box suite that he was in. But we know it's a problem now, and I think everybody in that building knows it too. I think Kwesi knows it. I think Kevin O'Connell knows it. The problem is there, and it's right out in front of everybody, and now there's no like, oh, well, what about Brosmer? Oh, well, what about this? Well, nope. It's a problem, and it needs to be fixed.
I will say, having heard your rose, I'm going to say that I also now have a rose.
Wow, okay. I've inspired some positivity in you.
I will say that, yes, you said the Vikings definitely have a quarterback problem. I'll say it's probably... the rose is that it's not just JJ. And you did say, I'm not saying anything you didn't just say, but it's not like the Vikings only picked, like their only mistake is that they picked the wrong guy at 10th overall in 2024. I think any young quarterback would have problems with the way things are going right now with KOC. And I'm still a KOC fan. I'm not calling for KOC to be fired. But yeah, I think any young quarterback would have issues because who have we seen at quarterback that actually thrives with KOC? It's guys like Kirk Cousins who, and we've talked about this, who doesn't need to be taught how to watch NFL film. Not saying JJ does, but like maybe he does. It's guys like Sam Darnold who maybe already know what quarterbacks coaches are talking about when they say, here's how you plant your feet. And again, maybe JJ does understand that, but it sure doesn't seem like it. I think maybe KOC...
Carson Wentz even was a good example of a veteran quarterback that came in and played reasonably well.
I would say he was able to complete passes, which is a lot different. Yeah,
reasonably.
I would say Carson Wentz almost played good. He was more in that category. Sure. Whereas J.J. McCarthy, and now with one game of Max Brosmer, we've seen light years behind even Like, they are so far gone, so lost. Maybe the true problem, and this is for five segments from now, but maybe the true problem isn't just that these young guys aren't great, which is absolutely true. These young guys are not great. They posted up some of the worst quarterbacking games we've seen in NFL history just this season. But maybe it's also being pushed towards that bad level by maybe a coach that can really only thrive with a quarterback who's at maybe a master's level rather than a junior in high school level, if that makes any sense. Yeah. So I guess after all that, my rose is that maybe it's not just the quarterbacks and maybe there's something coaching-wise that should be looked at.
Well, that plays into my thorn. Because my rose was that we can confirm that the Vikings have a quarterback problem, but my thorn is that the Vikings have more than just a quarterback problem.
I promise you, I didn't read your thorn before I piped in with an extra rose of mine.
And you said some of the things that I would say, but I would add on to that.
Yeah.
I don't think it's just a coaching problem.
No, yeah.
And we'll get into this later because I think you're pretty strongly opinionated, like most Vikings fans are, that someone's job needs to be taken from them. There's going to be a vocational paradigm shift, at least in your opinion, and in a lot of Vikings fans. You're laughing so hard because I used those words.
It's a How I Met Your Mother reference.
Yes, it is.
And I took away from the funniness of that by pointing it out. But yeah, that was hilarious.
But I'm actually not of the opinion of
That's fine.
some of those people. But I still believe that the Vikings have more than just a quarterback problem.
Yeah.
And any Vikings fan with any amount of brain cells, more than 2, would know that it's not just the quarterback, it's not just the coach, and it's not just the GM. I think there's some systemic problems. And truthfully, the Vikings have been kind of just floating along, and they've kind of piggybacked off the success of some coaching, some players, some other things that have happened. And that's why in the 3 years that we've been doing this podcast, the Vikings have had a pretty good record overall, but can't do squat when they get to the playoffs.
2 decent years and 2 so far pretty bad years.
The Kirk Cousins injury year was the bad year, but you just chalk that one up to, oh, well, Kirk got hurt and Justin Jefferson missed a lot of time that year. And, that one's pretty easy to justify. Like, nope, yep, that was, it was what it was. But then you had these 2 other, like, really, really good years. KOC's first year was our first year doing the podcast, and it was awesome. It was fun to watch. And then last
Fun
year,
to listen to as well if you want to
Actually,
go
we
back and
didn't
listen to all of our episodes from that year.
we didn't start the podcast until Kirk's injury year. I was
we
mistaken.
did a full season before Kirk got injured.
Did we?
I'm pretty sure.
This is our 3rd season.
Oh, you might be right, Ev. I think... I don't know.
Yeah. Yep. Our first season was the 7-10 Kirk Cousins injury season.
Man. Okay.
So we started in the summer and then the preseason before that season.
Yeah, 2023. Okay, yep.
But the first year of Kevin O'Connell, that's beside the point. The first year of Kevin O'Connell was really, really good. Won 13 games that year.
Yep.
Right? And then, dealt with injury, 7-10, whatever. Easy to justify. Not going to lose your job over that. It is what it is. You come back with Sam Darnold the following year and go 14-3, and everybody's like, wow, this Vikings team, they're just a few pieces away from being a real contender. And I think that's why we're all so frustrated with this team right now, is the optimism was so high, and we felt like we went out and got those pieces, and those pieces just have not added up to be a championship level football team.
Yeah.
And that sucks.
And everything you just pointed at is something I'll be pounding the table about here in another segment.
I've seen your notes. I know.
But yeah, was that all of your thorn?
Yeah, and my Rose and Thorn are kind of coupled.
Yeah.
The Vikings know that they have a QB problem now. We can confirm that. It's obvious. It's not this like weird like, ooh, well, we've still got this other guy waiting in the shadows. Like, I don't even know, like Desmond Ridder, and who's the other guy? John something?
Wolford? I should know.
Nobody's banking on them to like come out of the woodwork and be amazing. So again, we can confirm that the Vikings have a QB problem, and they have more than a QB problem.
Yeah. My thorn I think it was a similar thorn to last week. It's just that all hope is lost. Not only just for this season, but one of the reasons this loss to Seattle and this 4-game losing streak feels so terrible is that, yeah, we're seeing just awful quarterback play from guys that should be foundational pieces of the franchise. We should have J.J. McCarthy be QB1 for the next decade. We should have Max Brosmer be a solid backup and somebody that we try to keep other teams from signing for the next 6 years, until he finally is too expensive and another team, snipes him for their own starting quarterback job. Like, that's how it feels like it should be for the Vikings. We should have the coach of the year, but it feels like we've got a guy that doesn't know how to play chess, checkers when everybody else is playing chess. We should have the best defense in the league, and admittedly, the defense has been playing okay, but when you're the only the only leg of the tripod that's doing anything, even you start to look bad. We should have a young rookie returner that should have broken 1 or 2 touchdown punt returns or kick returns by now, but he keeps getting held or fumbles the ball on his own. Like, we should have all these things. We should have a GM that is such a mastermind and financial savvy dude that, you know, he can find the diamond in the rough in the draft. And it just, this season's putting a magnifying glass on all of that, and it just feels like there's no hope. It's not like we can say, oh, there's always next year, because guess what? We've got the same rookie quarterback unless they draft another guy in the top 10, but the GM's already proven that he can't do that, and the coach has already proven that he can't develop a young guy in the first couple of years of his career. You know, we should have these things. Maybe we can sign some free agents in the offseason. Nope, no, we can't, because the Vikings unloaded all of their cap space this year and really went all in. So my thorn for this Seattle game is really a thorn for the whole season, which I think I said last week too, is that the magnifying glass is there. There's no hiding behind, oh, well, a lucky win here, and now we still have hope for the playoffs, maybe this year, maybe next year. There's just no hope. And you put all of that on top of the rest of the division is looking good. There's just this is some of the most hopeless feelings I've ever had as being a Vikings fan. And we watched Leslie Frazier coach them to a 3-13 year one time, and even then it's like, well, at least they'll get a high draft pick and Matt Khalil and, you know, maybe new coach, but it just feels like there's no hope right now.
You done?
No, but I have to be.
You can keep going. I mean, if it's therapeutic for you, if there's some catharsis here that, you know,
there will be, but
getting it off your chest. This is a safe space.
I'm getting to the point that I'm saying the same thing over and over again, and I'm stealing takes from later. So I did look it up. John Wolford, Wolford, number 5 quarterback. Yeah. He was with KOC in with the Rams for a little bit. So
okay, so there's that connection, but well, let's give out game balls really quick, and then we can just go. We can riff on anything and everything. You can share your strong opinions. Yeah. It's fine.
Yeah. Well, we can riff on it, because I think we have differing opinions on what we'll talk about later, but that's okay. We're not going to like be at each other's throat.
Oh, I'm excited to maybe argue about this a little bit.
Let's do it. Yeah.
This will be good.
Yeah. All right. Game balls from the Seattle Seahawks game. I'll go first, because I think you actually have a good take, and mine is just the F it take. For me, you know, the only one that really did his job, that I feel like is Ryan Wright, the punter. 5 punts, 252 yards, 50-plus yards a punt. You know, maybe DePaula also did his job because he snapped the ball to Ryan Wright perfectly every time. That's, you know, a couple of guys that did their job every time the ball was snapped. What about you, Ev?
I would give one both to Eric Wilson and Dallas Turner. I think Eric Wilson, because he led the team in tackles, he had a sack. He was the heartbeat of this defense, and they got after Sam Darnold. And what I loved about it was Brian Flores in his presser this last week was like, we love that guy, wish him the best, but we're coming after him.
Yeah.
And he put his money where his mouth was, and he did it. I think they sacked him, how many times? 4 times in the game?
Yep.
Most of those came in the first half, I think. And Dallas Turner got in on 2 of those. So that's why he gets a game ball from me. I think we've finally seen a breakthrough with Dallas Turner. And I think
he's and there's a hot take to that too.
He's rounding into form. And I think the hot take might be that the Vikings can let go of one of their other higher paid guys to make room for Dallas Turner to be that starter on the edge.
Yeah, that is the hot take, that either Grenard or Van Ginkel could be traded away for draft capital. I see 2 issues with that. One, we only have a few games here so far. Legit good games from Dallas Turner, but there's only a few, so that's a risk. You know, you're putting your chips behind somebody that's only flashed a few times. Again, flashed very well, but only a few times. And also, there's cap ramifications of getting rid of, especially Jonathan Grenard, who signed something like a 5-year, I think maybe 4 or 5 year contract for $70-something million just over a year ago. He's in his second season of that. And Van Ginkel, he originally signed, I think, for 2 seasons prior to last season, but then this previous offseason, after his first year with the Vikings, they re-upped him for another 1, maybe 2 years too. So they really have doubled down on both of the guys who you would think could be traded away to open the door for Dallas Turner, which I will never pretend to be the smartest guy when it comes to NFL teams and their cap and how all of that works out, and how getting rid of a good guy could be actually good for the cap. I'm not an expert on that, but I can understand that maybe you would keep a guy, good or bad, just because it would cost you way more to let him go. So that's not to take anything away from Dallas Turner. I think now that you lay it out, Eric Wilson, Dallas Turner, probably actual good recipients of a game ball.
One other thing I would add about getting rid of either Grenard or Van Ginkel in lieu of keeping Dallas Turner and making him kind of the proverbial starter at one of those on either side, really, as an edge rusher, is the wild card of Brian Flores. And I think Dallas Turner has developed because of the coaching. Mm-hmm. And if Brian Flores leaves and they get rid of Grenard and Van Ginkel and Dallas Turner is left to his own devices and new coaches who maybe do things differently and maybe a different scheme that doesn't, utilize that edge rush the way Flores does, where it's this kind of like scrambled eggs. I don't know who's coming at me. It could be 12 guys coming at me, not literally, but my math is off there. Or it could be 3, right?
I love the way you talk there, Ev.
I'm just hyperbole. There's an art to it, okay?
Yeah.
Exaggeration. But that's how Brian Flores runs his defense, and it's awesome. And I think a kid like Dallas Turner thrives in that system where he just needs to know I'm going, right? Like, I'm on this play, I'm going. Mm-hmm. I think you keep it as simple as that for him, and all the other guys are like, nope, I'm dropping into coverage, nope, I'm going here, nope, I'm going there. You just tell him you're going to go on this one, and he's that snarling dog that just goes in the backfield and obliterates the quarterback, and it's awesome, and we love to see it. And as long as he doesn't put his full body weight on the quarterback,
which he hasn't done since he did that to Lamar Jackson.
Right. But anyways, I think that's an interesting wild card to consider in that conversation too, is where does Brian Flores end up when the dust settles on all of this horrific season that's developed for the Vikings? Like, is he even still here? Yeah. Is he going to pursue some of these open head coaching vacancies? Who knows?
I would assume he'd get some looks, because I think he started getting some looks last year. Yeah. But that's a whole nother topic for a whole nother day. Brian Flores is not one of the guys that I would say the Vikings should look to get rid of.
No, not at all.
There's definitely some guys that they should look to get rid of. And I'm of the camp right now that KOC is not somebody they should be looking to get rid of either. I don't think the problem is solely on KOC. Now, the argument is going to be he's the head coach. The problems are his problems no matter what. And it's his job to fix all of the problems, which we've seen. We've seen a 13-win season from him. We've seen a 14-win season from him. We've never seen a playoff win from him. But I still am a believer in KOC. I'm just losing a little bit of faith in the quarterback whisperer tag. I think that takes quite a bit away from the job that Sam Darnold did. It kind of takes a bit away from the flashiness that we got for a few quarters from Josh Dobbs a couple of years ago. But I'm not on the train that fire KOC. That's not me. I don't think you are either.
Nope, I'm not.
I am ready for the Vikings to make a move somewhere else, though. I think the Vikings need a new GM. I think they need to get rid of Kwesi. And I was solidified in this thought after reading an article from friend of the show, Dustin Baker, on VikingsTerritory.com. And I think it's literally titled, "The Vikings Need a New GM." And in that, he lists off, and I kind of copy-pasted here, everything he listed off. Kwesi has had 2022-23 24, and now 25. 4 drafts so far. And the amount of players that he's drafted, yes, it's a team, it's a scouting department, there's an assistant GM, there's more than just Kwesi, but ultimately, just like all the problems are KOC's problems to fix, ultimately, Kwesi is making these picks, good or bad. He has had 5 picks out of 4 years of drafts where you can say, yes, that dude was worth picking. That dude was a net positive for the Vikings. Many, many more. Let's count. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17 that are flat out either not with the team anymore, have lost their starting jobs, have passed away, have been traded away. All of those guys have just plain not worked out. And then there's a few that are to be determined. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 players that are to be determined if they're good or not. And of course, this is a little bit opinionated, but I trust in Dustin Baker. I believe what he writes, and I wouldn't be saying it right now if I didn't also believe it. And then there's a whole bunch of miscues in the draft. Evan, we can kind of talk in detail on these picks, but I will just say, to start this off, I think 4 years is enough time, and Kwesi has had more failures than successes. And when you're in a league like the NFL, 4 years is enough time to know if you're going to pan out as a leader of a team, and Kwesi is not panning out. I am ready to move on from Kwesi Adoffa-Mensah as a GM. And that's not just me saying, fire him, I hate this game, I hate that they lost this week. Everything has added up to he's not good enough for me.
And I would counteract that point. And I think you are in the majority camp here.
So far, yeah.
Just based on my cursory research on Twitter. And to be clear, I respect Dustin's opinion.
Yeah, sure, yeah. Well, that's part of sports, is we get to talk about all this, and you can have a differing opinion without it being, we're not yelling at each other.
And I respect your opinion, and I know that you were probably thinking it before you read Dustin's article, and you alluded to it. You said that it's now confirmed, this is what I think. And that's great. I mean, you're entitled to that, and it's good to have a foundation. But here's what I'm going to come back to. None of us were talking about Kwesi last week. None of us. And none of us were talking about Kwesi at the beginning of the season. In fact, we both were touting Kwesi, not to the extent of like, oh man, we've got the NFL's best GM. Like, we're not, Lynch from San Francisco or the Irsay family in Indianapolis or anything like that. We weren't like going to those levels, but we were excited about some of the things that he did. Like, I was excited, and I think you were too, when he and KOC both. Kwesi and KOC made a commitment after the end of last season. We're going to solidify the trenches. And guess what they did? They went out and they solidified the trenches. Now, did that pan out the way that we hoped? No. But who was to know that wasn't going to work out? I mean, the names that they signed, Javon Hargrave and Jonathan Allen, to solidify the middle of the defensive line, awesome gets for the Vikings. And then the offensive line with Ryan Kelly and Will Fries, and you're getting Christian Darrisaw back. You draft Donovan Jackson. Like, wow, okay, you guys were serious. You solidified the trenches. And that's why the optimism was so high at the beginning of the season, right? Like, we're all just like, man, the Vikings have all these skill players. They just need these line positions to be, solidified, and here we are. Yeah. And so I don't know that all of the blame for the demise of this offensive line, the duds that Javon Hargrave and Jonathan Allen they've played a little bit better recently, but they sucked. They flat out sucked at the beginning of the season. They did not play well, and I think most of us were like, what the heck? We brought you guys here to make a difference, and we were wishing Harrison Phillips was back at that nose tackle position and not one of those two clowns. And they've, I think, since kind of redeemed themselves a little bit, but not much. Yeah. But again, who's to say that that's only on Kwesi? Now, I think the argument is that he's the backstop, that he's the ultimate, like, he's the one that's signing these contracts. He's the one that's orchestrating all of these deals. He's the one that is, firing off the draft picks, right? And we also know on the draft pick side of things that the Vikings didn't necessarily want J.J. McCarthy as their first quarterback pick. Mm-hmm. And I think there was this mounting pressure from the media and from fans like us to draft a quarterback because they had very quickly moved on from Daniel Jones and then 2 days later Sam Darnold, and you didn't have any other options at quarterback, and so that kind of forced your hand. You had to draft one in April, and
you would think so.
And instead of probably doing the smart thing and not drafting JJ when they did, they drafted him at 10th overall, and then they spent some picks to move up to pick Dallas Turner a few picks later. Mm-hmm. And meanwhile, they had made these handsome offers to get, I think, didn't they make an offer to get Drake May from the Patriots?
Allegedly. We'll never know exactly what's true and what's not, because Kwesi and the Vikings are never going to say, like, yeah, that's true. We did offer 3 first-round picks plus picks next year and, whatever else. They'll never actually say if that's true, but apparently that's what's been reported.
Right. And Bo Nix was available when they picked, but they picked JJ instead of Bo Nix, mm-hmm. right? So I don't know. If I'm in that position, if we're going to zero in on that for just a second, if I'm the GM, I'm going to pick the kid that just won a national title.
Totally
and not
agree.
This other kid, right?
I probably said on this podcast that the 2 guys I absolutely don't want are Penix and Bo Nix, and I'll be super pissed if they pick either one of those. I guarantee I said something like that multiple times on this podcast.
So
I've also said I'd be a terrible GM. I have no problem saying that about myself.
I really don't know that it's a Kwesi problem, and I know everybody right now today in the heat of this 26-0 loss are pounding the table. Just get rid of him. Like, somebody's got to get fired. Mm-hmm. They've lost 2 horrible games in a row. The Packers game was miserable. This was miserable. Get rid of him. Blah blah blah. Whatever. I get it, and honestly, I wouldn't be like upset. I wouldn't be brokenhearted if the Vikings moved on from Kwesi, but I don't know that he's solely to blame. And I don't know that these problems are necessarily problems that he could have foreseen nor avoided.
Yeah.
And truthfully, he's on the younger side of GMs. And I think he's also super smart. Like,
absolutely.
He's an Ivy League grad, and he's, I think, very economically smart. Mm-hmm. I don't know that he's super football smart. I think that's maybe where his weakness is. And I think maybe he might need some help scouting, maybe an assistant GM who has a little bit more football experience, maybe was a player,
maybe
that's
can
who
evaluate Ryan Grigson
talent.
Is supposed to be.
Yeah.
And it's
I don't know much
still
about the Vikings front office.
Yeah, I know Ryan Grigson is essentially why can't I think of words?
The assistant GM.
Assistant GM, exactly. That's what he is. He has been in the front office of many NFL teams. I'm trying to pull up his...
Did he ever play?
I don't know. That's a good question. But either way, I know he's the assistant GM. He did play, for the Bengals, Lions, and Toronto Argonauts. He coached for a little bit, but not anywhere. Definitely not even the NFL. And he's been with the Cleveland Browns from 2020 to 2021, Seattle Seahawks before that, Cleveland Browns again before that, the Colts as their general manager from 2012 to 2016, so that Andrew Luck kind of era, with the Eagles in 2010, 2011. So he's got some NFL, front office experience and experience with Kwesi from Cleveland. And he's supposed to be that backstop, okay, Kwesi, you're super smart, and we get that. You see, you make moves based on value, and that's good. I like that. But Grigson's also supposed to be that, like, all right, now you see this kind of value in this move. Here's the football reason why, yes, that's a great idea or why that's a terrible idea. So to me, Grigson and Kwesi go hand in hand, and get rid of them both. Like, that's a part of the GM. They are both the GM to me, and both of them need to go.
Well, and so here's what I'll come down to, and we've already said this a little bit, or at least alluded to it. If Kwesi goes, in my opinion, Kevin O'Connell has to go as well.
There's something to that,
and that would be an earthquake in Minneapolis. That would shake the foundation of US Bank Stadium to its core, and the TCO Performance Center in Eagan, for that matter. Like, that would be an organization rocking move, because both of these guys were brought in together 4 years ago. They're younger, they're energetic, they're a breath of fresh air for this organization that had been, I think, kind of stifled by the old stodgy, Mike Zimmer and Spielman.
Yeah, Spielman and Zimmer, it's well known now that they didn't talk for like months in their last year. Yeah. Apparently, again, that's what's been reported.
I think there's a lot more collaboration that happens.
You think so?
I would think. I don't know for sure. No, I don't know that anybody outside of the organization knows for sure. But I do know that healthy organizations thrive when there is that collaboration, and when there is that general aura of excitement and energy and momentum, and the air of that, all of that energy, momentum, excitement has been sucked out of this team from pretty much day one. Like, you see it in Kevin O'Connell's press conferences. He's not a happy guy.
No, we've been saying it all season. You hitting the nail on the head.
I've been pounding the table for that all. Yeah, and I think this season is putting a lot of gray hairs on his head. Like,
well, the hairs that are left.
Yeah,
which I have no room to talk. I'm bold by choice, but
we both have very few hairs. I'm pretty short haired as well. But my point is this: if people are going to pound the table to fire Kwesi, if that's what makes Vikings fans feel a little better about this season, like, oh, okay, we're going to get rid of a guy and we're going to get a new one, well, then you might as well just clean house. Yep. You might as well just get rid of everybody. You brought up Grigson. I'm bringing up Kevin O'Connell. Like, if that's the take, then just clean house again. New coach, new GM, new assistant GM. Let's see what happens. I don't think that's going to happen. I don't know that the Wilfs will do that. And I wonder if there's a little bit of blame to fall on ownership in this. And the Wilfs are wonderful owners. Let me be clear. I have a high opinion of them for the most part. It doesn't seem like they're, they're definitely not the Jerry Jones of the league that are just kind of like, the laughing stock of the league. But and there's something to ownership too, where like when you're an owner, it's just kind of like, I own the team.
I've hired these people to do a job.
Well, and like I can do whatever I want. Yeah. Like I think Roger Goodell and the league have their thumb on the pulse of what happens, and they tell owners like, no, you can't do that, or yes, you can do that, or whatever. But like for the most part, like they're putting up the capital to make this whole thing work, and to some extent, they don't have to answer to anybody other than Roger Goodell for a few like rules and regulations. But other than that, it's kind of their show. And I think I've been a Vikings fan long enough to know that they don't want to lose the fan base. They don't want to lose ticket sales. They certainly don't want to lose the franchise to another market.
Oh, yeah.
Which has been talked about, but never seriously, I don't think.
That was a tactic that was put out there in the public when they were trying to get public dollars to help with the stadium. Right. But nothing has ever been really said of that since.
On that note, just a quick little rabbit trail, they quickly paid off all of the loans on the new stadium to kind of solidify the fact that, yes, this franchise belongs here. We're not going anywhere. And yes, public dollars were used to build it, but we paid off all of those loans, and now it's here. We're not going anywhere. So I'm not saying that, if the Wilfs don't do anything, the Vikings are going to end up in Los Angeles and they're going to be 3 teams in LA or whatever, or they're going to go international and be the first team in Germany or something stupid like that.
The Wilfs do seem very much like owners that fans of a team would like to have. And I've never really, I don't know them personally. I don't know their background. For all I know, they could be horrible people from behind the scenes. I've never heard anything about that, but they do seem, as far as the owners of the Vikings, it seems like we've never heard the Vikings would have signed Peyton Manning, but the Wilfs didn't want to put up the capital. We hear the opposite. We hear the Vikings, the GM, whether it's Spielman or now Kwesi, they'll go to the owners and be like, hey, we really need Kirk Cousins, or hey, we really need to put up some capital for Justin Jefferson and Christian Darrisaw. And it seems like whenever that happens, the Vikings owners are, the GM always says hey, credit to the owners. They were right there with us. They're on fire for this team. So, yeah, they do seem like good owners. You kind of started going down a path that I want to poke up a little bit. You said if you fire Kwesi, you probably almost have to fire KOC. And that reminded me of a tweet, again, friend of the show, Dustin Baker, tweeted out November 23rd. He said, teams that fire the GM, but not the head coach, the very few of them, it never works. Head coach gets fired halfway through the next season. What new GM doesn't want to pick his coach? Like the most important thing he does, pretty much. If you're out on, this is still Dustin Baker, if you're out on Kwesi, you got to fire both, not some half-assed arrangement, which I can see. We've seen the Panthers go through most of a decade where they kept firing their GM and then their coach and then the GM again and then their coach. And so I can see the mindset behind that. But and this is going to be that whole Arrested Development meme where it's like, yeah, well, people are crazy. They don't think it's going to work out for them. But, I think it's going to work out for us. I know this is spitting in the face of that mindset. But when I say get rid of Kwesi, get rid of KOC as well. You also mentioned something a little bit ago that you talked about the mindset of KOC and Kwesi being in tandem. And from somebody who's never met either of them, never will meet either of them, never be behind, the doors that they have meetings in, I recognize that. It doesn't seem like Kwesi and KOC are fully in tandem at all times. Not that I think GMs and coaches need to be, but they need to respect each other enough to go forward with decisions that they're both making. So, a couple of reasons I say that. It seems like KOC was okay with keeping Kirk Cousins. Recognizing the whole situation. He's coming off an injury. He's older, 36, 37 at the time. He might not be good, but it seemed like KOC, from what we heard, wanted to keep Kirk Cousins. That wasn't what happened. Ultimately, that's a GM move where they let him walk, maybe offer him low balls, just to say you offered him. And then it also seemed like KOC was really adamant about keeping Sam Darnold and or Daniel Jones. Again, this is just from, witnessing things and seeing tweets and stuff like that, so that might not be true, but ultimately that's not what happened. Who knows how in tandem KOC and Kwesi have been on quarterback decision-making, whether it's the Cousins, Darnold, Jones, or even drafting the guy they drafted in J.J. McCarthy. You would think KOC would do a lot better with a guy that maybe he wanted, or maybe he just assumed a lot of things about J.J. McCarthy that's not true. You would think that when Kwesi signs a guy like Dalton Reisner, because the fans really wanted him to, he would start right away rather than watch the offensive line struggle for half the season and then finally, what's this, 2023, finally put Dalton Reisner in the lineup. You would think KOC would utilize a guy like Adam Thielen, who the fans really wanted, and Kwesi traded, decent capital, not,
a fourth rounder.
Yeah, not franchise altering by any means, but worth it if the guy gets 500-ish yards, couple touchdowns, But you would think if they were in tandem on that, then KOC would utilize a guy like Adam Thielen, and it wouldn't get to the point where Thielen's pissed off and quits on the team and says, get rid of me, or, if you're not going to use me, get rid of me. Which that's a whole nother thing. I lost a little bit of respect for one of our favorite Vikings of all time. It seems to me, and again, I recognize that I'm not in the meeting rooms. I don't know them personally, but it seems to me like personnel moves are being made and coaching decisions on game day don't necessarily reflect how those moves are being made. And those are just a few examples, but that if the GM and the coach are not fully on the same page and holding hands and rooting for each other no matter what, then you can get a little bit of dysfunction a la Spielman and Zimmer in their last year or two.
Yeah, and I wonder if, maybe KOC and Kwesi were, buddies the first couple of years, and now, the honeymoon phase is over, and I don't know, maybe one of them or both of them weren't happy with the draft. I'll never forget the clip of Kevin O'Connell learning that Kwesi had traded up to get Dallas Turner.
Oh, yeah.
And he was like, really?
Yeah, Turner, we're getting him.
Yeah.
What?
Kwesi just drops that dime on him, and what? And you can, Kevin O'Connell looks like a kid in a candy store. Yeah. He looked like he just won the lottery. Looks like he's, a kid on Christmas Day. Super excited. And from that moment, it seems like we've been on the downward trajectory of that. That may have been the high peak. Yeah. And what's interesting to me about that isn't even football related or anything like that. It's just, I think, human beings, we have relationships with people and they can go really, really well for a time, and then all of a sudden something happens and they just crap out, and I wonder if something happened behind closed doors, if there was an argument or disagreement or something, and here we are 6 months later, 8 months later, dealing with the fallout of all of that.
Yeah, especially in a GM of an NFL and a head coach of an NFL where their jobs, whether or not you won Coach of the Year a few months ago, you're always, it's such a cutthroat league that you're always, the next mistake you make could be your last, even if you made 100 successes beforehand. And that Dallas Turner, draft example, that video really made it seem like, oh my God, KOC was like, oh my gosh, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Can you imagine the reaction if KOC, again, this is almost not even worth saying because there's no way I could know any of this. It's pure speculation. But can you imagine that same example if Kwesi turns and says, Dallas Turner, if KOC had specifically wanted not Dallas Turner? What if, who's the LA Rams guy? Burns or whatever his name is? Jared Verse.
Oh, yeah.
Pure speculation, total example. I don't know anything. But what if KOC was like, Jared Verse, yes, I love that guy. The draft is a loss if we don't get that guy. Kwesi trades up, gets the capital, and gets the draft pick and says, hey, and KOC thinking oh, he's going to say Jared Verse. And Kwesi says, oh, hey, Dallas Turner. We're getting him. Uh-huh. And KOC is like, oh, I wanted the other guy. Again, fake example. No way I could know that. But those would be the kind of things that a GM's like, no, I know you really want this dude, but trust me, I see the value in this other dude, and it's my call, so I'm making that. Total speculation. What if something like that was a J.J. McCarthy decision? I don't know. We can never know, and it's not even worth speculating. But those are, like you said, those are the kinds of things that can really sour a relationship. We do a podcast together. I feel like 3 years in, most of the things we have done, whether it's one of us doing it, the other one, or both of us, I feel like, just being totally candid here, we've been pretty good with the decisions we've all made. But what if I got really enamored by some camera and said, hey, I know we have limited Skol Hop funds, but this camera's going to be really good for us. Even if you knew, hey, this camera's going to be good for us, but it's going to take all of our funds, and I just went out and bought it and showed up to your house one day and said, hey, instead of my phone filming us one week, here's this really cool, super expensive camera that we bought, that could be the kind of thing that could take the Skol hop, something that I think we both really love, and totally sour it and turn it into garbage. And 3 weeks from now, we wouldn't be recording anymore.
Well, and some of what you've just said makes me wonder if Kevin O'Connell's coaching has been informed by some of this soured relationship. And I don't think it's happened a lot lately, but I got to do something.
Oh, man.
Are you ready for this? Do you know what I'm about to do?
I have no idea what you're about to do. I'm a little scared.
I'm going to quote Moneyball.
Oh, dang it. All right. Hey, this was the last episode of the Skol. No, I'm just kidding. What are you going to quote?
It's the moment where the GM, Billy Bean,
you're not starting so-and-so tonight.
Yeah, you can't start what's his name?
You love this movie so much you can't even think of it.
Well, no, because we might actually be referencing different scenes.
Oh, okay.
It's the scene where the manager, the coach in baseball, it's a manager. Yeah. He tells Billy Bean, he says, I'm playing this team that you assembled for me in a way that I can explain in job interviews next winter. That was the quote. That was the line. And it stuck out to me this last 24 hours as I've digested this game, this horrific 26-0 loss. Like, I wonder if there's a little bit of that, like, vindication, this vendetta against the system that KOC's like, okay, fine. I'm just going to play the team that you've assembled for me in a way that I can explain in interviews. You want me to run the ball? Okay, I'm going to run the ball the whole first quarter.
I mean, that's literally something that happened a few weeks ago.
Exactly. He did that against the Packers. And then, like, all right, you want me to, try the other quarterback? Okay, we had this guy in concussion protocol.
Came out of nowhere, yeah.
And we tried the other guy, and it sucked.
And it's the same. He's just as bad. He threw more interceptions.
That's like, I don't know. I would hope KOC is not the kind of guy. And I don't think the NFL is the type of league where you can get by with stuff like that.
Not if you want to keep. That's the thing. You can't do those things if you want to keep your job. No one is safe. Bill Belichick got fired. Yeah, it was a quote-unquote mutual agreement. He got fired a few years ago, and this is the highest decorated NFL head coach of all time. No one is ever fully safe. But yeah, I'm with you on this.
And so going all the way back to where I kind of started my whole spiel here, if you're going to fire Kwesi, you probably got to fire Kevin O'Connell too. Now, do I think that needs to happen right now? Do I think it needs to happen today, Monday, December 1st? Do I think it needs to happen at the end of this 25-26 football season? I don't think so. I think you give these guys another year. And I know that sucks.
Yeah.
Because now the mountain of challenges is steeper than it's ever been. It's steeper than it was when both of those guys got to Minnesota and they had the Kirk situation to deal with. They had a depleted offensive line that they had to rebuild. Kwesi's whole thing when he got here was the competitive rebuild. And I read Dustin's article. He said that he was pretty explicit in his opinion that the competitive rebuild has failed.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. There's no question about that.
But I would say competitive rebuild isn't even the right term. I think the NFL has evolved even in the last 5 years that these guys have been in the positions that they're in. They've only been with the Vikings for 3. But
sure, yeah. Well, yeah.
We go back a few years. But the league has evolved. We are in a year-to-year system now. It's no longer a the best players play their whole careers in the same place. The best coaches coach their whole careers in the same place. Shoot, even Pete Carroll coached in the NFL, left, came back, and is now with a different team than he was when he won a few Super Bowls 10 years ago or whatever it was. Like, some of the best coaches that we know, you just referenced Bill Belichick. One of the greatest coaches of all time is coaching North Carolina.
Yeah, and it seemed like he was going to get fired a month or so ago from North Carolina, and that didn't happen. But
right. But the point I'm making is we are in this year-to-year system now. No team, no owners, nobody out there. Even the publicly traded Packers aren't opposed to making these moves on a year-to-year basis. The Packers are less of a draft and develop team than they used to be. They're still a draft and develop team, but they'll play the free agency game now, and
or
we saw that.
Make a mega trade for Micah Parsons.
Yeah, I was going to reference Micah Parsons, and I was going to reference Josh Jacobs. Like, it's it's not the same NFL that it was, and so I'm kind of like all one way or all the other way.
I get that.
Fire them both or keep them both and let them climb this really steep hill that they've got to climb, figure out the quarterback situation, figure out the cap situation that's now become a massive conundrum that they're going to have to untangle and figure out who stays, who goes, how are you going to rebuild this team and get it back to a championship level again? Because you were there last year.
Yeah,
you were
a
14,
year ago now we were talking about
3.
how excited we were that, man, this could be the year. What do? Do you sign Sam Darnold? Because if he gives you a Super Bowl, that was legitimately what we were talking about. I should go back and see like our first episode in December and just listen to that last year and see like what were we talking about? It was a different show because it was a different team.
Yep.
All of this. I'm sorry, I totally cut you off there.
No, I'm done. I've talked a lot.
This whole segment,
case.
It has transformed my mindset because the title in my mind of this segment was Fire Kwesi, and now it's more of a broader idea of my mindset should be you need, and this isn't breaking news, this isn't anything crazy that nobody's ever thought of before, but the head coach and the GM need to be 100% in tandem. And again, like I've said a few times, there's no way that we can know that Kwesi and KOC are not in tandem. But the moves that we've seen sure makes it seem like it's not. And I can't imagine having one guy building the team and another guy having complete and separate authority to drive that team and not having them totally together in that. It would be like the head coach and the quarterback need to be in tandem. Like, sports teams are so, we'll say it, fragile, especially football when, it's an 11-man sport. Like, everybody has to do their job, but that doesn't just mean the 11 guys on the field. That also means all of the coaches and all of the scouting and all of the front office, because if you have a coach that wants to pass it, and a GM that wants to trade assets for a running back from San Francisco that the coach isn't going to use on 3rd and 1, you're going to lose games.
All right. I think before we wind things down here, this is going off script a little bit.
I'll take it. Let's go.
I want to know key players that are with the organization now that either stay or go. Like, just quick hitting off the top of your head, who stays, who goes, who's with the Vikings next year and who's not.
Is this what I want or what I think will happen? There's two different things.
I think what you think will happen, because I think what all of us want is the best possible team to be.
Well, we want the team right now to actually play good. We want J.J. McCarthy to be the next Tom Brady,
Right.
So,
and I'm just talking about current players on the roster. I don't want to know, like, who do you want like, we could sit here and talk for hours about, all the quarterbacks. That's what everybody's talking about on Twitter.
Yeah,
like,
that's what Stephen A. Smith makes
Mac
his money
Jones
on, even though he
blah,
sucks.
Blah, blah.
Yeah.
Like, whatever. I don't care about that. Who of the 53 guys on the current roster right now will be back next year? And we don't have to go through all of them, but who's
the
going to
big
stay?
guys? Yeah. I mean, it starts for me. Justin Jefferson.
That was one of the biggest ones that I wanted to talk about.
We are seeing his frustrations.
Yes.
They're valid. This is a superstar who has publicly said, like, yeah, my goal, he's said, like, yeah, personal stats don't mean anything. But was it a year or two ago when he missed a bunch of games? And it was after he had won Offensive Player of the Year. And, he came back after that hamstring of like 7 games and said, like, the new goal now is just to make sure I get 1,000 yards every year. He's at like 795 right now with 5 games. You think, 1,205 yards? Like, that's easy. He could do that in one half if he really wanted
4
to.
yards or something.
Yeah. Well, I mean, now we're seeing he's frustrated because he's looking at a season where he gets less than 850 yards. I mean, that's a real possibility. So for me, he's still the face of the franchise. He's the face of the NFL for me. They've put him out there when they announced, they're going to collaborate with flag football. He was like the first guy that was out there. Justin Jefferson is the Vikings, and they need to do everything they can, not to coddle him, give him his own office, not stuff like that, but to prove like, hey, we respect you as a generational talent enough to know that we're not going to waste you, and we're not going to piss you off and make you run in the locker room before the game's over, or trade you away and then trade back for you a few years later, and just to have you say you wouldn't feed this lunch food to your dogs. Randy Moss. So yeah, Justin Jefferson, he needs to be back. I do like the three guys on defense: Jonathan Grenard, Andrew Van Ginkel, Blake Cashman. For me, those are the guys. We've seen a lot from Jalen Redmond. He has been a rare, not just bright spot, but like just blinding spot, like just so illuminating and so blinding. I've never heard him in an interview, but I imagine he's just like the most happy guy ever because he's one of the few guys that's been playing consistently well all season. Dallas Turner, he needs to be a piece that you build around, and I know I just named two guys at his position ahead of him, but those three guys, I think you need the Vikings to have Grenard, Van Ginkel, and Dallas Turner. Levi Jake Rodriguez. Yeah, he's not everywhere. He's a 7th-round pick, but he's one of the few picks that Kwesi's made that has worked out. J.J. McCarthy. I've probably said less than a week ago, get rid of him. I'm not in the cut J.J. McCarthy camp, but I was definitely in the camp where it's like, he's nothing. There's nothing there. You've invested so much. I think you still have time to give him to see if he's the franchise quarterback. The main person I want completely gone from the organization, Kwesi. I mean, that's really the only one I want gone. And I think Kwesi's a really good dude. I think he's really smart. I think he can be a good GM. I just don't think he's doing a good job right now, and it's so cutthroat that with 4 years of experience, we haven't seen anything. And we haven't even mentioned, I know I'm going way long-winded.
Keep going. This is good.
The whole argument against firing Kwesi is that right before the season started, the Vikings signed Kwesi and KOC, but specifically Kwesi, to a contract extension. Yep. I tried to find it. There's no publicly available. There's nothing that says, nothing from the Vikings, we signed him for this many years, this much money. We can see articles that are saying, it's apparently tied with how long KOC is, and I think he signed a 4-year extension, but no 100% confirmed amount of time and amount of money that Kwesi was signed for. So for all I know, firing Kwesi is $100 million failure for the Wilfs. Like, I don't know. It could be something crazy like that. And I totally get that. If the Wilfs were like, hey, we just signed this dude. And apparently the extension years haven't even kicked in. Like, that starts next year, so to fire a guy before his extension even technically starts is kind of crazy. I totally get that. But also, so is losing football games just because you threw money on it. Like, there's nothing worse than throwing bad money after bad money, The on-the-field product is what matters the most in the NFL. Winning games. Winning games. I say all the time? Win the Super Bowl. Even the Vikings won 14 games last year. And that's awesome.
Didn't win a playoff game.
Not even a playoff game. And it's a failure if you don't win a Super Bowl. I'm 34 years old. I'm sick of seeing my team lose. I'm ready to see a good team. And at this rate, I don't think I'll ever see it. My son is 5 years old. One of the first questions I ever asked Dustin Baker on his first time joining the Skol Hop was, hey, do you feel, we're all dads, do you feel bad about introducing Vikings fanhood to your kids? And he's like, the way I see it, my kid's probably got another 70, 80 years left in his life. The Vikings are totally going to win a Super Bowl in the next 70, 80 years, so I don't feel that bad. That was his answer. And now I'm thinking, my son's 5. are the Vikings going to win a Super Bowl in the next 70, 80 years? Like, I don't know. It doesn't seem like it right now.
Well,
what about you? Sorry, I've totally morphed that question. Who do you think needs to stay?
You morphed it back to Kwesi, which solidifies your opinion. You think Kwesi should go. I get it. And I don't think Kwesi should go. I think he should stay.
That's fine.
And you said it too. If these extensions are tied to one another, right? Like if Kwesi and KOC's extensions are kind of like based on each other's success, well then fire them both. Would it be a risky move? Would it be an earthquake in Minneapolis? Yeah.
If the Vikings were to fire KOC, the Titans would hire him immediately.
He would get snatched up as a head coach.
The Giants would hire him immediately. He would be the first hired coach in this cycle.
And you've also got to look at the other head coaches that are either A, already fired, or B, probably going to be fired. Kevin Stefanski's on the hot seat in Cleveland, and he was a long-time Vikings employee, worked his way up the ranks before he became the head coach of the Browns. Like, I would be one of the first to say, yeah, let's sign me up for that. That sounds good. Like, I'd be interested to see what Stefanski could do with an organization, ownership, and maybe a GM that actually gives a rip about what we're doing here. Like, Cleveland's just kind of a joke of an organization, and to be a coach stuck in that system seems like hell on earth.
Stefanski's situation alone, he was immediately tied with Deshaun Watson, and he didn't have a choice. That guy was starting, and he was one of the happiest guys in the world. Stefanski had to have been one of the happiest guys in the world when Watson got that Achilles injury.
Right.
Anyways,
coming back to the original question about players, I'm most curious to see what happens with Justin Jefferson, especially in light of what happened today when the Vikings released Adam Thielen.
You should reword that. The Vikings granted Adam Thielen his release.
Yes.
Thielen quit on this team after 8 catches and less than 70 yards. I get he wasn't getting playing time, and he's probably good enough to play. He's definitely, I think he had 1,000 yards last year.
But I can see it from KOC's perspective. I've got 3 wide receivers on the roster that are younger and faster than you are, and I'm a passing coach. I'm going to put the 3 best guys out there.
I get
Once Jordan Addison came back and was ready to go, Jordan Addison proved his worth pretty early on in the season. Justin Jefferson was getting all the attention from the defense. Yeah. Jalen Naylor was there, but he was just okay. He's never, ever really been... Like, Jalen Naylor, we all know it. He's undersized, and he's fast, for sure.
Jalen Naylor now has as many forced fumbles as he does 100-yard receiving games, which I liked that forced fumble.
That forced fumble was awesome.
But it was also like he was every Vikings fan and like, just F it. Another interception, and he boomed it. You know, he made sure they got that ball back.
That was maybe one of the bright spots of the game, honestly, for the Vikings. But anyways, I'm curious to see what happens with Justin Jefferson, because he truthfully... he's acting differently than he's ever acted in a Vikings uniform under a Vikings contract, and it's concerning. And you've already alluded to it. He's a prominent player in the league, one of the best at his position, arguably the best, and I think our biased opinion, we would say he is the best at his position. His stats are troublesome this year, not really to any fault of his own, but because...
some minor fault of his own. He's had some drops.
He's dropped a few, and he dropped a few from Max Brosmer yesterday.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. He's not 100% faultless, but it's not his entire fault.
Yeah. So he's one that I'm going to be interested to see what happens with. I'm also going to be interested to see what happens with some of these high dollar cap hits. You know, like, if there's a way, if this is all hypothetical and we're jumping the gun because there's still 5 games left in the season.
Season's over.
But the season's over, so we can jump there. If there's any silver lining to Kwesi as the GM, it's that he will crunch the numbers. He knows.
Well, that's also Rob Brzezinski, who survived the last regime too. So
true, but I think Kwesi's smart enough and has that econ background to really work the numbers, work the contracts, either renegotiate with some of these guys to lessen their dead cap, or to open up some opportunities to bring in some other free agents, or to just cut bait and get rid of some guys and move on from players that are ineffective, and maybe eat some of that if needed, if it's deemed to be in the best interest of the team.
One perfect example of that is potentially TJ Hawkinson.
Oh, yeah.
I'm a huge fan of his, but I know he's got a big cap hit, and he has not been the same on the field since that dirty hit from Kirby Joseph from the Lions.
He seemed to be Max Brosmer's favorite target yesterday.
Well, it was the Dumptown target.
Yep.
Until...
But, I mean, a target's a target.
Yeah, and I think that was his best statistical game in a long time. Definitely this year, if you're not counting touchdowns. I know he's got a couple touchdowns on the year. But yeah, he may be one that's just like, it just dollars to production makes sense to get rid of him. Now, I will say, again, like I said earlier, I'm not an expert on the cap. For all I know, cutting him would cost an extra $10 million. I have no idea. But it does seem like, as far as production to cap hit, he's not there. And there's a few guys like that on the team. The two defensive tackles that you mentioned earlier, Hargrave and Allen, they flashed a little bit, but neither of them have been the big-name free agents that we've expected, and neither of them have really been injured, so we don't have that excuse, you know what I mean? But yeah, there's definitely some financial moves that could be made and probably will be made, and more moves like this Thielen move that will be upsetting for Vikings fans. But that's what happens when your team wins less than 5 games in a season. And I think there's a real chance the Vikings don't win another game this year, which is upsetting. But
so TJ is the, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7th highest cap hit next year. And the two guys that you also just mentioned, Hargrave and Jonathan Allen, are 6th and 5th highest cap hits for next year.
I am smart enough to know that it's not just as simple as deleting that. I know that getting rid of any player could, come with dead cap money. Shoot, even the new trend in the last decade or so for NFL teams when they sign a player is to sign a guy for like 3 or 4 years and then add another 1 or 2 years of void years after their playing contract is done. Then they're still on the books for another season or two. I think this is the first year that the Vikings have not had
Kirk Cousins.
Well, Kirk Cousins and Danielle Hunter on the books as high cap hit players. And they haven't been on the team for, both of them a couple of years now. So I know that there's more that goes into clearing cap space than just getting rid of some high dollar players. But yeah, it's going to happen. Eventually, it's worth it to take a cap hit next year to save some space, even if it's minimal, this year.
So an interesting just point to make with all of that, Justin Jefferson next year will have a cap hit of $38 million.
Yep.
Nearly $39 million. 12.7% of the Vikings cap will be Justin Jefferson alone. Yeah. That's a lot for one player. And then after that, you've got the two tackles, Brian O'Neill and Christian Darrisaw, who will both account for about 7.5% of that. And then you have Jonathan Grenard, who we've already talked about. And then you have Allen and Hargrave and Hawkinson. You've got Murphy, Van Ginkel, and Will Fries and Aaron Jones. None of those guys could be on this team next year. I mean, other than the top 3.
So I think the only one of what you just listed off, realistically, and again, like I just said, I'm not super smart on the cap. I think Aaron Jones might be gone, just cap reasons. I don't know how it fully affects the team, but TJ Hawkinson, as much as it hurts me as a Hawkeye fan and a TJ Hawkinson fan, he may be gone. I don't think we're going to see any movement from Jefferson, O'Neill, Darrisaw, Grenard, Allen, or Hargrave. I think all of them are pretty just contract-wise, pretty solid in their roster positions for 2026. I hope, and while we've seen a little bit of quietness and a little bit of frustration from Jefferson, we still haven't seen anywhere near what you would call diva. Even the last time, he didn't speak to the media after the Seahawks game, which is concerning.
That's uncommon for him.
But even when he spoke to the media after the Packer game the week before, he wasn't happy. He was very upset. It was like a 4-minute interview that they posted online. He said something like, yeah, it's really frustrating to keep saying the same things over and over each week and nothing ever changes. That's not a statement you want to hear from your captain, the captain on your team. But he also didn't pull a Stephon Diggs and pull his hood up and kind of cinch the ties and fake being sick for a day or two to get out of practice and say, everything's good, I just want more catches. Like, he didn't do that. And he's not saying anything. He's almost doubling down on J.J. McCarthy, like saying that, yeah, I know it's been tough, but like he'll get there. We got his back. He hasn't said like, yeah, dude sucks, and I need more passes my way. A.J. Brown for the Eagles is being more of a diva, and they've won 8 games. Like,
they're gonna make the playoffs.
So probably. I will say, Justin Jefferson, as we've always complimented him, has still been the ultimate professional up until he didn't talk to the media after the Seahawks game, which
he could get fined for that, right?
I guess I don't know. I go back to the whole Marshawn Lynch, like, I'm just here so I won't get fined. Maybe there's something to that. I don't know. I feel like we would have heard already if he was going to get fined for that, and maybe he did. I don't know. But still giving credit to JJ. It's a tough season. Nobody's happy. We see KOC, like we've said already this episode, and you've been alluding to all season. KOC doesn't look happy. It's going to trickle down, and hopefully we can get through this dark time of 2025, and hopefully next year is better. But I go back to the Arrested Development meme. Yeah, well, everybody says it'll be better, and it never works out for them, but I think it'll be good for us. Like, it sucks right now. It sucks.
But look at you. You're already more positive than you were when you walked in here.
I didn't say I think it'll be better. I said hopefully. And you know what? I've had a couple beers, and they've been good. And we have a game to think about next week. Like you said, we got 5 games left in the season. Who cares? Win or lose, what happened? I care. I want them to win every game. But then you have the fans that are rightfully thinking, like, oh, get a better draft pick. Yeah.
Yep.
Which I'll never root for my team to lose. Now, if it's one of those, like, man, they looked really, really good, and they lost by 1 point and it helped their draft pick, like, I could see that mindset. But I'm going to root for my team every week. And
this team has also lost by a combined score of 49-6 in the last 2 games. They haven't put up a touchdown since they played the Bears 3 weeks ago. Yeah. So, like, at some point, like, there is maybe a little bit of merit to tank and draft. Especially,
I mean, I can see it, but you're never going to get a player to agree to that. Excuse me. You're never going to get a coach to agree to that. I mean, unless you are the Dolphins ownership and you're telling Brian Flores to tank for Tua. Was it tank for Tua? Is that right before Flores got fired and then they got Tua anyways? Or was it? Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you're never going to really take that passion, especially like I said earlier. Coaches are coaching for their jobs. KOC, there's a world where he loses out and could get fired after being the coach of the year last year. Like, he's the reigning coach of the year. Brian Dable for the Giants. He won coach of the year KOC's and his rookie year as head coaches in 2022. And he's already been fired. Yep. Like, coach of the year means, you mentioned Kevin Stefanski might get fired because the Browns are a steaming pile of Browns. And he's won coach of the year, I think, multiple times since he's been head coach. So, like, that accolade means nothing, but it's also saying, like, even the best of the best can fall very quickly.
Well, we have the Commanders coming up at home, which is nice. And then the Vikings round out their tour of the NFC East, going to Dallas and going to the Meadowlands in New Jersey to play the Giants. So 2 road games against the Cowboys and the Giants before finishing with 2 home games against the Lions and the Packers. So it'll be a really interesting end to the season for the Vikings. I mean, the season's lost. They're not mathematically eliminated from the playoffs at this point, but they're basically out of the playoffs at this point. There's no hope for that.
It would take a comeback akin to the greatest comeback in NFL history, the Vikings Colts 2022.
Stretched over 5 games.
Yeah, it would be the comeback of the season century. It would be movies would be made about this comeback of the Vikings, even made the playoffs. Like that's how crazy it would be.
But let's talk about this game against the Commanders. The Vikings open up as 1.5-point underdogs at home against the Commanders,
which is crazy because the Vikings currently 4-8, Commanders I believe 3-9. And we're not even certain if their QB1, Jaden Daniels, is going to play.
He's like on the verge of coming back.
Seems like he's been there for a little while, so I wouldn't even put it out there until I would expect this line. Yeah, the Vikings right now are 1.5-point underdogs. I would expect if they make an announcement about Jaden Daniels, either way, that'll move the line greatly. If they come out and say, on Friday we get the injury report and it's like, hey, Jaden Daniels had a good week, he's good, he's going to start, then that line might move to the Vikings being 3.5-point underdogs. Now if they come out and say, hey, Jaden Daniels, he's close but he's just not there, we're going back to Mariota, who knows, maybe that line stays at the Vikings as 1.5-point underdogs, maybe they move to 1.5-point favorites. I don't know, but I think that Daniel's decision will move it a few points either way.
What are your keys to victory here for the Vikings to walk out of US Bank Stadium with the win?
I mean, like I've said, there's no hope, and part of that is the offense it doesn't seem like they can complete a 5-yard pass. So for me, a key to victory, the defense staying the same. I'm really not super disappointed with the overall play of the defense. Yeah, they've let a few plays go forward, but you're going to let a good team score. The defense let Seattle score 19 points. Mm-hmm. The offense threw a pick 6. Brosmer threw a pick 6. Other than that, the defense, I mean, usually you think if your defense only allows 19 points, you got a good chance in that game. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of been the case most of the season. The defense has held up pretty well most of the season. So I think the defense just keeps on what they're doing. Maybe give them a turnover. But really the key for me would be just a sudden and unexpected total change in offensive production.
Yeah, and mine is similar to that. And I think it starts with a commitment to the run. And we've seen it in the beginnings of these last couple of games. And maybe it's one of those Moneyball things for Kevin O'Connell where it's like, I'm playing the team you assembled for me in a way that I can explain next to your job interviews. Maybe it's that. I don't know. But you have Aaron Jones, who did get hurt, came out with a shoulder injury in this last game.
And it seems like he may be out. Just they haven't announced anything, but from the way KOC is talking about that, it's like he's aggravated a shoulder injury. He hasn't sounded like, it's no big deal. He kind of makes it seem like he might be out.
What was interesting to me about how that was handled in lieu of his injury, it wasn't like, Jordan Mason, you're in. No, it was Xavier Scott.
After a minute, but remember Jordan Mason also, he started getting the bulk, and then he got, was it a knee, something, shin, something? He got hurt. And
I guess I don't remember that specifically.
Yeah, but he got tackled, was really hurting, stood up, took a couple of steps. This is in the Seahawks game. And then after a couple of steps, just sat down.
I do remember that. But it was before that. It was Aaron Jones had gone down, and I was expecting Jordan Mason to just be the next guy in, and no, it was Xavier Scott. And lost season, whatever, it doesn't matter at this point. Like, who cares who you put in there? Like, just get guys out there that are going to be productive, and maybe, you can help them get some opportunities next season, whatever. But it was just surprising to me that Xavier Scott was the first one that I saw, and I could be wrong. I could have.
I respectfully to you, Evan, I think there was once it was initially Jordan Mason, and then once he got that little bang up of a play, whether he was totally injured or not, I think it was one of those like, we're losing anyways. I don't want to get him more injured. Throw Xavier in there. He's pretty fresh.
And maybe that was the case, but it also seemed like there was maybe still that like you get a drive kind of mentality, where the drives that would have gone to Aaron Jones were now going to Xavier Scott instead of like. Jordan Mason's the number 2. Let's just keep feeding him unless he's banged up, which I do remember now what you're saying, that he did go down. But he came back pretty quickly after that. So anyways, all of that to say a commitment to the run I think is going to be important, whoever is under center. It's probably not going to be Max Brosmer. It's probably going to be JJ McCarthy.
Sure sounds like it. It sounded like JJ's like the last final step for him to clear the protocol is just to have... Yep. Like he's cleared to practice, it sounds like, and if he has a full practice where he's good, then apparently, as far as the protocol goes, then he'll be cleared for that. I'm not an expert, but that's kind of what KOC's press conference today made it sound like. So I would expect J.J. McCarthy to be starting against the Commanders.
As would I. And then my other key is just a solid defensive effort, which you alluded to as well. So I think those are kind of the big things that the Vikings need to do. What's your prediction?
I still think this season's over with. You kind of triggered something in my mind to think maybe KOC is coaching maliciously. I'm not predicting that, and you weren't either, but you never know. It could be one of those like, hey guys, just play the way I'm telling you, and then once Kwesi's gone, then we can play better. That's ridiculous to say. I know it's crazy to say, and I don't actually think that, but a cynic in me says, oh, sure, that could be a possibility. Either way, I don't really see the Vikings winning another game this year, just off of what I've seen, based off of quarterbacks getting 80 yards. I think Brosmer eventually got like 120-something yards, but 4 picks. You can't win like that. Everything's broken. So this week, I think the defense can only hold up so much. Washington scores something like 28, 31 points. And the Vikings do as well as they can. And with 2 drives of scoring points, Will Reichard's going to make 2 field goals. It'll be like 31-6.
All right.
There is no hope for this year. It's all gone.
All right. Well, doom and gloom.
Yeah.
That's great. Here's what I put. IDEKA. Do you know what that stands for?
I don't even know
anymore.
Ah, there it is.
I don't even know anymore. I just don't. We made preseason predictions. Everybody, you, me, our families, the coin, we all predicted a win against the Vikings next week.
Against the
Commanders.
Commanders next week, yeah. We did? I thought...
Yeah. Everybody predicted a win. I'm looking at it right now.
Oh, then I totally read that wrong. I'm sorry for the whole outline thing, because I wrote that we both predicted a loss.
Nope.
Okay.
Everybody predicted a win, and unless I'm reading that wrong.
You're absolutely right, yeah.
We all predicted a win. So, all of that to say, I just don't know. Like, we made these preseason picks. Who are we to know? Kwesi Adofo-Mensah, he made his picks, right? He made his draft picks. He made his picks in free agency, for better or for worse. It's mostly turned out for worse, which sucks for us as fans. I'm not going to make a prediction. I don't know. The Vikings could win. This could be the J.J. McCarthy coming out game. He could have 400 yards. He could throw for 5 touchdowns. It could be amazing. Justin Jefferson, is just the happiest guy on the face of the planet after the game.
I think if Jefferson got 20 yards and a touchdown and a win, he could get 3 yards and a win, and he'd still be the first guy doing the Skol chant.
This will be the 3 catches, 3 touchdowns, 167-yard Randy Moss Thanksgiving game for Justin Jefferson.
I think I have to insist, as your co-host, I don't need a score. Win or loss, Ev. Did the Vikings win or lose this week? Knowing that it doesn't mean any, that purple punishments are already established. We're gonna spin if they lose, both of us. Which I'm glad. We've kind of been in tandem for a lot of these. Not every game this year, but a lot of the devastating games. At least we've been together on those. So What do you think? Just for the sake of the show.
I think it's going to be close.
Okay, closer.
Way closer than Washington's not a great team. Even if Jaden Daniels does come back, and they had the Broncos on the ropes last night on Sunday Night Football. I get that, but the Broncos proved that they're the better team. And I heard some of the talking heads today on some of the big TV networks saying, like, are you concerned about the Broncos that it was so close? Like, and some of them were like, no, a win's a win. And some games in the NFL are just like that. Mm-hmm. And so I think it's going to be close. I'm going to say the Vikings win. I'm going to stick with our preseason pick. I think the Vikings win. I think it's very close. I think the margin of victory is maybe a point or two.
So I will say the betting line opened up with an over-under total points scored of 41.5. So that's like a 21-20 game.
I would say it's in that. I would say it's pretty close to that.
All right. I respect it, and it's the NFL. I mean, the Panthers beat the Rams this week. Like, anything can happen.
And the Panthers are, like, squarely in playoff contention.
They may sign Adam Thielen again. Good for him if he wants to ditch the Vikings and go back to his old team. You jerk.
It's warmer there.
It is.
No snow, probably.
North Carolina. I have a little bit of ties to North Carolina.
I know you do.
There was a point in my life where it would have been very easy for me just to be a North Carolinian, like, and just have that be, the way it was for the rest of my life, like, super easy. Like, I would have literally just had to say the word, and I ultimately didn't. And my life is wonderful, and I'm not regretting anything. But darn it, the weather. I'll tell you what, my dad didn't fire up his snowblower twice this weekend. I'll just say that.
He doesn't have a snowblower.
He probably doesn't. He does, however, have a few snakes on his property. So that's almost enough to say I'll take 3 feet of snow.
We call those nope ropes around here.
Nope ropes. That's just,
I'll mess with snakes.
No, never.
I hate snakes.
Yeah,
even a garter snake is just like, no thanks.
I think it would have to be like between, like, I think my children's lives would have to be at stake for me to really attack or really do anything about a snake. If it was just me, I'm out. Like, I'm running. I'm moving out of my house if I ever see one in my house. But I mean, if you can guarantee you don't ever have to fire up a snowblower again, like,
could be something you deal with.
Literally, the snowblower I own is because a friend of mine was moving to North Carolina and said, hey, I don't need the snowblower anymore. Do you want it? And I was like, yeah, I'll buy it. But, yeah, so I don't know what initially sparked that. Oh, Adam Thielen.
Going back to Carolina.
Go to Carolina. Get another 6 yards on this season. And I hope you never come back to Minnesota and sign that one-day contract. That's where I am.
He will. But
no, I hope he doesn't. I hope it doesn't happen.
He will.
I hope he doesn't get that.
You can hope all you want. It's going to happen.
Because had he been a better guy, he wouldn't have needed to sign a one-day contract.
He could have just
retired, and
5
they would
weeks
have.
from now.
I hope he doesn't get in the Ring of Honor. He's a good dude. I'm glad that he was a Viking. I will cherish his jersey. And
you hold grudges.
I'm over it. Just like with Randy Moss. Second greatest wide receiver in Vikings history so far, but he's about to get topped off of that. So, anyways, Vikings Commanders. Hopefully we don't have to spin the wheel next week. Hopefully they win.
That'd be nice. What do you think of the second time around Wade Wisely from Big Grove?
So I'm not going to lie. I know I mentioned it when we first tried it that there was no head retention. The foam went away, just fizzled down within seconds of pouring it. It started off with a decent little head and then went away. So I was kind of concerned about that. I mean, we haven't ever, I don't think, had I think we've had like one-ish bad beer the whole time we've ever done this show.
Are you referencing the one that was a different color?
No, because that one even ended up being okay. The Pickle Tickle, the Barntown Pickle Tickle, which I'm sorry, Barntown, we've had many of your beers. You're really good. That Pickle Tickle was not great. That's just our personal preference. But we've never had like an infected one. The one off-color one that I had was the closest one we've come to that. but like it tasted
Still
fine.
tasted good, yeah.
I never had any stomach issues. I was kind of concerned that maybe this one was older. Maybe it wasn't quite as fresh as it could have been. But genuinely, I've had 3 now. I've saved this last sip for our intro. It was as delicious as we had it the last time. Still carbonated every time I took a sip. I really liked it. I will gladly get this one again. Evan, what do you think?
These were canned 2 months ago, October 1st.
So like, maybe it's just
that's a fresh beer.
Yeah,
that's a good beer to have. I loved it. I like that it's coffee, but it's not like in your face. Like I always come back to one of the first coffee beers we tried together at Single Speed in Cedar Falls, where we went to college. Good beer, but man, the coffee flavor in their Tip the Cow is just like in your face.
Which could either be a really good thing, which for me it is, or something that kind of throws you off. And I don't think you're saying it's bad.
I'm not saying it's bad, but it's one of those where like I can't sit and probably have 3 of those in a sitting. Like I can have 1 and then I got to be done. I got to move on to something else. This is one where I can have 3 in one sitting. The oatmeal, the vanilla kind of mellow out the coffee in a way that it's like, man, we just got basically a foot of snow in our area. It's cold now. This is a solid beer for this time of year.
This is a December beer.
Yeah.
Without being a Christmas beer, because then you get into like a jingle java.
All the
and
spices and stuff. Yeah, I get that too.
I think I know what you mean. Some of those coffee stouts, they can essentially be like the beer version of like an iced coffee. Yep. And I'm not an iced coffee kind of guy. I like coffee flavor. Like a coffee ice cream is wonderful. But and maybe a hint of coffee flavor, like in this, what is it, the Wade Wisely? But like for me, if I'm drinking coffee, it's got to be hot and it's got to be black, and don't mess with the flavor of coffee. But yeah, I agree with you. This is not an iced coffee in beer form. It's really good.
Yeah. Well, we need to hustle through this last part here because we've been talking for a while.
We have. Thank you so much if you've been sticking on board with us.
Good episode. We had a lot of good stuff to talk about, and I think there's going to be a lot more to talk about as this season winds down and as we get into, okay, what happens next with this Vikings team.
I'll tell you what, at minimum, this offseason is going to be interesting, and there's going to be a lot of opinions on who should or shouldn't have been fired, who should or shouldn't have been drafted, traded for, cut, remained. It's going to be a season full of talkers, and because I don't think Vikings fans, you or I included, are ready to be back into the mindset of a rebuild.
Correct. Like we had a win now roster this year, and that certainly didn't pan out. So to go all the way back to square one would be disappointing for sure. Good news is, as a podcast, we are certainly not at square one. We are at square 116 right now, and we're not going anywhere. We're going to be here. We're going to be here for the duration of all those off-season conversations. Where can people find us if they want more of us?
Yeah, if you want to keep the conversation going with us, you can find us everywhere on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. I'll still say technically Blue Sky, even though admittedly we're not going to check that because we haven't looked at that in a long time, and for all I know, that account's gone. Even we have a Reddit thread that we're out there, and a website, theskolhop.com, which hasn't been updated in many months, but it should be. TikTok is one of the exciting areas that we are. Actually, we do have a video that did pretty well by our standards of Jaden Daniels' elbow injury. A lot of injury videos on there. And then YouTube as well. If you're not watching, go ahead and watch us on YouTube and Spotify. And I will say this. I heard this idea from a podcast I listened to, How Stuff Works. And they did this little thing like, hey, if you like us, go ahead and pick out, not just comment and like and subscribe, please do all that, but if you like us, go ahead and comment on this one, which of our episodes has been your favorite. There's over 100 so far. And if you're bold enough to comment which of our episodes are your favorite, go ahead and send that to 1 or 2 people that you think might like us that you don't think are listening to us so far. On YouTube, episode 115 was one of the best performing episodes we've ever had. So some of you are out there. Lots of you are not subscribing yet. Some of you are. yeah, let us know what you like about us and share us with your friends. That's the most that we can ask for, and that would be really helpful.
Yeah. What a promo. Nicely done.
Yeah.
I love it.
If you're a fan, keep being a fan. But I am a fan. I had a lot of fun on this episode.
Great beer. I thought we had really good conversations, even some disagreement, some dissension in the ranks a little bit.
Some of our best episodes are when you and I have a disagreement, and I like it.
That's where things get spicy and good.
Yep. Well, yeah, this was a great beer, and I think you might agree, best episode yet.
I would agree.
Skol.